Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Folks, we got some good conversation set up for you today. First, let's talk about the latest with the January 6th panel. We'll talk about how far they have gotten in their investigation of what really happened on that fateful day. And Representative Liz Cheney has something to say as they get closer to the end of their work. We'll have that conversation. Also, our very special guest, Dr. Steve Perry, world-renowned educator. He's going to be joining us to talk about the state of education when educating Black children and Black students. So we'll have that conversation. Also, let's also talk about what has been, speaking of education, there is a lost skill that children have to work on gaining because of the 2 years of the pandemic learning. I'm going to share with you what are some of the skills that you may see your children exhibit and how they can get those skills back. And then later, we'll talk about wasting work days. Are meetings at work really necessary? No, they are. Plus, we got trends posting doing the most. So stay with us. We got a lot to get to on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. Folks, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Man, oh man, we got some good stuff for you. Let me get myself together because I'm excited to have these big conversations. First, let's talk about what's happening with the latest around the January 6th panel, folks. You know, this is the panel of both Senate Democrats and Republicans who have decided to investigate. This is the House panel that has decided to investigate what really happened on that fateful day of January 6, 2021. The panel is still moving forward on doing its work, piecing together from hundreds of testimonies what happened, who is responsible. And guess what? Someone has stepped out, Representative Liz Cheney. She is the vice chair of the House Select Committee. She has stepped out to say something really, really big. And Keenan, let's put this one on the screen, brother. As they were doing their investigation, she's made it clear. She said it's absolutely clear that what President Trump was doing, what a number of people around him were doing, that they knew it was unlawful, yet they did it anyway. This is what Liz Cheney said to CNN just a couple of days ago, referring to the list of violations that have been happening. And as a result of that, folks, let me just say it. I don't know if this is the nail in the coffin, but she's saying is that the committee that investigating this has enough evidence to refer President Donald Trump for criminal charges to the Department of Justice because of his involvement. They have enough evidence to do so on the charges of obstructing a congressional proceeding and conspiring to defraud the American people that he really won he won the election, the quote unquote, the big lie. 2 charges: obstructing a congressional proceeding and defrauding the American people that he won the election. And let's just add a little bit more to the sauce, folks. That the president and all his cohorts and his associates and all of these different people, because she said that the conspiracy runs deep. And, you know, we've been talking about here on this show. Brother Roland's been talking about it on his show. I mean, when you look at how many people involved, and I keep throwing out the number, they have interviewed over 500 people that have been involved, who have worked in and outside of government, different layers. There was a recent testimony, a recent arrest of Proud Boy leaders that have said that, yes, that they came to Washington, D.C. specifically to look at this situation, to go to that rally, and they knew that after the rally, they were going to walk down to the Capitol and obstruct and disrupt the congressional proceedings. They knew that. They already had that in mind. That's why when President Trump made that statement, and I'll walk down there with you, he didn't walk. He didn't walk. But I'll walk down there with you. They knew that was the call to go to the Capitol to disrupt the congressional hearings to certify the votes for the election of President Joe Biden. That's what they plan to do. So they are closer and closer. Now, does that mean that the work of the January 6th committee will end? No, they are still making sure. They want to make sure that they have enough. They said they got enough, but they want to make sure it's sealed tight. So I want to bring in Culture crew member Lise Winnie, who serves as the host of Millennials Anonymous podcast that can be heard on streaming platforms. Get her take on this. Lise, how are you, sis? Oh, wait a minute. You on pause? You on mute?
Oh, I'm muted. Yes, now I'm muted today.
So what do you think of this? I mean, Liz Cheney is saying, look, we got enough evidence. Now, this is the same Liz Cheney, Representative Liz Cheney. She's been ostracized by the Republican Party because from day one, she has been saying Trump is bad for not just for the party, but he's been bad for American political leadership. And so at this point, she's saying we got enough evidence, but they're still going to keep going, Elise. They're still going to try to keep piecing together what happened. But as of right now, they have what she says enough evidence. They haven't made that decision yet to refer the president to the Department of Justice, but they say they got enough evidence. So what do you take from that?
Well, I think that we will have a bigger fight. This is definitely not said and done. I commend Liz Cheney for going against her party and doing what's right instead of just going along party lines. I think because she's been in politics, her dad is Dick Cheney for so long that she misses the old Republican Party and what Republicans used to be. Yes, we disagreed, from Democrats and Republicans, but it wasn't what it is today. So I definitely commend her. But we do have a lot to consider, or at least the Democratic Party has a lot to consider, because do you press charges? Do you refer this over to Merrick Garland, and what does he do with this? And what are the ramifications for that? For this upcoming election, which now you're seeing the Democratic Party there's a little bit of a rift of whether or not you just go forth with this, or do we consider what the outcome is? Because Trump has been Teflon Don. He has not really had anything happen to him. And, for obstructing justice, it could be anywhere from a fine up to like 3.5 years in prison or something like that. So what really would happen to him? And I think we do have to consider that as well. For the Democrats.
Absolutely. And this announcement by Liz Cheney, Lise, comes after Senator Mitch McConnell, the Senate Minority Leader, Mitch McConnell. And I always like to throw his picture up there. So Keenan, if you got some pictures of Mitch, let's throw his picture up there. This comes after this, just days after he said, at a recent, he's been doing a number of interviews, national interviews, that he would support President Trump. That regardless of what happened, if President Trump is going to be the nominee for the Republican Party for the upcoming election, that he would still support him, Lise. I'm trying to understand. The man said, this is about party loyal. This is about party lines. It's not about anything else. I'm supporting my party. And if he's the guy for the party, guess what? He's going to get my support. The same guy. Now, we know Mitch McConnell has flip-flopped on President Trump, just like Lindsey Graham and all them other guys. But I'm just wondering, I'm like, you're going to still support this man, even if it comes out that he is responsible. And guess what? Mitch McConnell is the same guy that said it on the Senate floor days after January 6th, a couple of days after January 6th, and then like a month later, President Trump is practically and morally responsible.
Yeah. And I think this shows the issue that we have in politics now, that it's not about what is right and what is wrong. You have to kiss the ring. And unfortunately, the person who still has the Republican Party in the palm of his hand is Donald Trump. So if you want to continue to be in politics, you can't go against him. Now, it's very interesting to see how this is playing out, because if you look at Pennsylvania, Donald Trump former President Donald Trump just endorsed Dr. Oz, who is going up against Senator Comey for his seat. So now we're seeing the Republicans like, okay, what do we do? So as of right now, he still is such a big part of the Republican Party. It's not the Republican Party. I think they actually should probably create another party and call it the Party of Trump. And then they might be able to solve that. I honestly do, because they're following a man. They're following Trump at this point.
Lease. The Party of Trump. Now, we've been talking about it, and we've been having conversations within our spaces, like, should Black folks do something independently? But I'm not sure if those same conversations are happening within the Republican Party, where you have, you already have like moderate Republicans, then you have like more progressive, then you got conservative, but then you got Trumpers. You got Trumpism, is what they call it, Trumpers and Trumpism. And I'm not sure if they're having that level of conversation about totally breaking away, because there is some fear coming from your traditional GOP members that are like, this guy, he's a loose cannon, but he's able to galvanize the poor part of the party. He's able to galvanize the people that we can't touch. We don't want it. Let's put it in the right way, at least. He's able to galvanize the people that they don't want to really deal with, the quote unquote average Joe American, right? That comes from, the southern parts of the country, some parts of the northern parts of the country, the dissatisfied white male voter. So he's able to tap into that. So I don't know if the Republicans totally want to break away from that. And even with this latest development with the January 6th panel, I mean, if they decide to refer Donald Trump to the Department of Justice and say, oh, he was responsible or he should be charged, it's still a symbolic act. It's still a symbolic act. And like you mentioned, it would politically backfire. It would backfire. And this is the part about the party politics that just drives me insane.
But I think that's something Democrats are already in trouble. When you look at what's going on now, the inflation is bad. Now we're starting to hear about things that could tip those voters that are on the fence. Maybe some of those, Green Party libertarian voters about Hunter Biden. Now those things are starting to come out. Like, the Democrats are not in a very good place. Yes, we got, Ketanji Brown is now Supreme Court Justice, but is that enough? So when you add this in there, now the Democrats are going to be fighting another battle where people are like, I can't even pay my mortgage. I don't care about this. And so how many Democrats are still really interested and involved in what happened on January 6th? We should be, but I'm just saying the average person is like, I got to pay gas. I got to, I have all these other things to worry about. So I think the Democrats are in trouble. And look, when it comes to the Republicans and Donald Trump, I think he's like, everybody got that crazy uncle that you really don't mess with, but Big Mama said, leave my son alone. And I feel like that's Trump. Like, it's like we have to keep him around because they need him now. So we will constantly see Trump until Trump doesn't want to be in politics anymore. But the scary part about that is now we have Trump Jr. And then it's like, it's not going to go away. So I think we're going to be dealing with this. I said Trump was the first. He's not the last. He's the first of that type of politics.
He is going to be that first. And here's the other thing about this. If we look at the map, if we were to look at a congressional map right now, a lot of the big okay, so let me break it down like this, folks. Republicans, Democrats, then 50-50 split. Of course, with Kamala Harris Vice President Harris, she sets the 51st vote. So it's literally the Republicans would only have to flip one seat. One. Let me put it on this side. I want everybody to see it. One. One seat in one state, right? And a lot of the big battles that are raging right now, and you know, depending on the states you are, like in the state of Maryland, we have our election in July. So all throughout the summer, leading up to the fall, and of course to the general election in November. So all they got to do is flip one seat. A lot of these battleground states are Democratic leadership. So you have to, and look, Mitch McConnell said this. He said this today. USA Today put out an interview that he did with them, and he was saying that it comes down to, first he said two things. He said it comes down to the candidates. It comes down to the quality of the candidates. If your candidates are strong, you're going to win. You're going to flip that seat into some of those Democratic areas. The second thing he said, because it was asked that, and saying that President Trump was to blame that in the state of Georgia, for example, where Raphael Warnock and the Democrats took power, that they were saying, some people are saying that was because of Trump and his whole stuff, the controversy he brings, that's why the state of Georgia was flipped the way it was. But if they can get it, if the Republicans can get at least one state or two or maybe three states, the game is over in that respect because they will have the majority. So they have to play a strategic game ball just as much as the Democrats, right? And this is where it's going to get crazy. This is where it's going to get real messy, because right now, you bring up Ketanji Brown, black folks. Once again, it comes down to us, Lise. It's going to come down to us. I'm telling you, it's going to come down to us. Again, black folks. Are black folks going to come out to vote? Now, look, the presidential election, I have my ideas about that. I have some reservations. But for this upcoming election, this congressional election, go out to vote. Go out to vote. The congressional stuff is where the stuff happens. You know what I mean? This is stuff that affects your home, your state. This is the local stuff. All politics is local. That's that's a big saying in organizing. All politics is local. So the local stuff, man, get fully involved. Get fully involved. And that's the concern. Like you got McConnell called Trump saying he's much of a tamer, like you'd say, the crazy uncle. The crazy uncle ain't going to be too crazy right now because there's too much at stake right now. They're probably trying to say, hey, look, man, hey, Mr. President, can you just calm it down? I mean, please don't mess this up. Please, Mr. President, please.
Has anybody been able to tame Trump, though? No one can tame Trump, but the thing is that his people, it doesn't impact him. I think that the people, and when we look at all the people that were a part of QAnon that are now actually in Congress, it's getting stronger. That little small segment of the population is getting stronger. I don't think we need to see a tamer Trump. I don't think we will, because that's what got people out. I think at this point, when people vote, and it seems like most of the time they vote against something. They don't vote for something. And so now Trump is on the offense. He's not on defense. Democrats are on defense. So that's where I don't think Trump needs to tame it down at all.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Lise. That's an excellent point, which is why I think we need to be very clear across the board for all of us who are planning to vote or go to the polls. You have to be clear about what you're voting for. And
Thanks.
And this is why, Lise, this is why when we have conversations about voting, you ever talk to somebody about voting and you like, hey man, I don't know who to vote for. and the person just tell you, hey, just vote. You just need to vote. And I'm serious. I think that's one of the worst reasons to vote, just because you just need to vote. If you don't see your interests being represented, being explained, being thought of, what is going to be the motivation for you to vote? Now, it's hard for me to believe that in any congressional or presidential election, either local or national election, you don't have interest nowhere. It's hard for me to truly believe that. So you mean to tell me, you cool with gas prices, you cool with how stuff is running in your home state, you cool with how stuff is running in your city, you cool with what's going on a national level, you cool with all of that. And that's hard for me to totally believe. So I think that if you're telling people to go out and vote, tell them to vote their interest, because that will compel people to start thinking deeply about what those interests are versus just going out there just to do it, just to say they've done it. I mean, we can't win. We can't make the type of gains and progress if we just going out and just tell people, hey, just vote. And you're not explaining to them that their interest is connected to the vote and that they have to see themselves as part of bringing some new reality into existence.
Yeah, and I think that the Republicans are better at that. I think they got the system, they got the whole kit, the marketing kit. The Democrats missed that, I suppose. But when it comes to getting people out and getting them involved, even on the presidential level, do you realize that they even dictate what time it is? Like, I think that people don't understand that. Like, we just, are thinking about whether or not to keep daylight savings time. Like, these are things that people don't think about on a day-to-day basis. Like, all of that matters. I think we need to be more educated, and we need to be more involved in whether or not we prosecute or they send a letter of referral in order to prosecute Trump is something that I don't know if a lot of the American public is still interested in that, because when you look at where Joe Biden's right now, he's polling wise, he is in the trash can. Like, I don't even know if you be negative. It feels like negative. It feels like he's in negative numbers.
I'm not laughing. Hey, look, I'm not laughing because it's like, haha, funny. I'm laughing because it's like, sad. Damn, you got to laugh from crying, right? You're like, damn, bro. Like,
right. Negative. Most of the things that are people, when they talk about Joe Biden, is negative right now. Like, we have to acknowledge that people are not doing well. I am not going to completely dump everything. I understand he inherited a pretty bad situation and he's trying to do his best. Now, are there some missteps I think that they had? Yes. But when it comes to whether or not with Trump and whether or not this is something that should happen, I don't know. I think the Democrats should actually sit back and think about, will there be, because what would be worse to the Democratic Party? You go out, you prosecute him, and then absolutely nothing happens.
Yeah. I think that's going to be the big thing. And right now, according to a March NBC News survey, the momentum is swinging in the Republican side of things. They have a 17-point enthusiasm advantage on voter enthusiasm. This was from March. 17-point voter enthusiasm. You're more likely to get more Republicans coming out in this particular election than you are Democrats. Which is going to be very interesting. But to speak back to the January 6th thing, even if the report does find that the report may not include a specific referral letter to Mr. Garland to move forward on Trump. And so that could put this whole situation, I mean, it's just so political, and it's like it just leaves you want to see some level of justice. You don't want to see people just get away with murder. And that's essentially what just happened on January the 6th. If there aren't really hard consequences that falls on President Trump and those with him, you will literally watch an episode of Shonda Rhimes' show, How to Get Away with Murder. That's True. It. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what you're going to be watching. You're going to be watching that. except that this is real life. This is not Hollywood. This is not made up. This is real life. A
Yeah, and
president
it's
can get
sad.
away with
I'm
murder.
smiling, but it's not funny. It's not funny at all.
It's not funny. I mean, at the end of the day,
right.
the president will be able to walk around, get police officers killed. His people can ransack the Capitol and then get on the ballot, run for president with the possibility of winning again. How to get away with murder.
Crime. Let's just make it crime. How to get away with crime. Let's just put a blanket.
That's what it is, folks. That's what it is.
Sad.
So it's going to be very, very interesting to say the least how this whole situation come out. I hope the January 6th committee put politics aside and find the testicular fortitude to at least say he's responsible. And even though there might be some backlash, the American people deserve the truth. Whether you're black or white, Asian, Latino, whether you in one state or another, the American people deserve the truth, because this country will never get to a place of real progress if people keep trying to hide the truth. Because guess what? At least you and I know it. After a while, we're going to be so fed up with being lied to about stuff that is so blatant and obvious. Folks are going to take their anger to the streets. And I'm not joking. That's what happens. We've seen it in other countries. You constantly lie to the people so much that they're going to be like, this is a damn shame. And they're going to take their anger to the streets. There is a rise we don't have time to talk about, but maybe at another show we can talk about. There is a rise of violence against political officials in this country. Mm-hmm. More political officials are being threatened. Their lives are being threatened. And we hear about, what happened with the Michigan governor. We hear about this person and that person. But people are going to get so upset because you're being lied to. And lies don't fit in a person's thinking and balance their psyche when everything else. The last thing I need you to do to tell me about is a lie. Like when them Republicans say, no, they were just visitors and tourists. Bruh, that does something to your psyche when you say, oh, a tourist. Oh, I get it. Oh, tourists climb the walls. They climb walls. I never knew that tourists climb walls. That does something to the psyche of a person. Because you see it, but then you have somebody say, that's not the truth of what you saw. That is dangerous.
Yeah.
That is dangerous.
We're in a dangerous place in this country. Even when you get the truth.
Absolutely.
They don't believe it.
Lise, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, we're going to bring in our very special guest. He is an educator. He is an international best-selling author. He is a dynamic brother that's doing some fantastic work in the world of education. And today we're going to have a conversation about the state of education when educating Black students. We're going to be checking in with Dr. Steve Perry. So stay with us, folks. That conversation is coming up next here on The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Table with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have, you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it. Please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. I'm very excited about this next conversation as we have been having continuing discussions around the state of education here in the country. And today we wanted to have another installment of that big conversation, which is the state of education while educating Black students. There are a number of things and big challenges that Black students are facing right now and that are coming up over the horizon. So what better person to have these conversations with other than best-selling author and a man who has started 5 schools around the country. He has been tapped for a number of educational initiatives and projects. And so we're just so happy that he can spend a few minutes with us here today on the Black Star Network on the Culture. We welcome Dr. Steve Perry. Good afternoon, Dr. Perry. How are you, dear brother?
I'm having the time of my life, brother. Forgive me. I want to start by saying I'm honored to be here. I also want to point out that because of the fact that I am still an educator, I'm in a Harlem school right now. There's a tragedy in the city, and there was a shooting a little earlier today, a mass shooting, and so we're exiting kids from the building. So I'm in between getting that done. But believe me when I tell you, that's how important this conversation is to me. It's Black Star, it's Roland Martin issue, and let's get at it.
I appreciate that. And I was going to ask that, Doc. We heard that earlier this morning there were a gunman that had shot at least 16 people. I mean, I'm getting different numbers based on the reports, but there was a subway shooting at the Sunset Park metro station, subway station right there on 36th Street. What's the latest that you've heard? Are any one of your staff members or students have been affected by this tragedy?
Well, none of our staff and students right at this moment. We're literally, I'm looking over my shoulder because we're moving children in and out of the building, or moving children out of the building, moving staff out of the building so they can get home. We have a number of faculty who live there. Many of our children are, they don't live there, so that's not our issue, but train delays and a number of other issues that are at play. The point is, in bringing that up, is that one, I won't get to spend as much time as I want with you, and then two, the state of Black education is such that everything that is impacting anyone, multiply it 10x. And that's what we're dealing with. We are dealing with violence. Before that, I was dealing with the violence of families coming down to beat up little children. Things have gone miserably wrong in our community, and it's time that we start having honest conversations about not just what is happening, but what we're going to do to get out of here.
And that's the big thing, and that was one of the topics I wanted to bring up, Dr. Perry, which is, you know, there's an ongoing conversation about the presence of police officers in schools. You know, there has been, according to like the National Education Union, they have voted for the removal of Met police officers in this case of the after the Child Q outrage. But there are schools across the country are asking the question: do we need police in schools? One, because it sets up an environment where children feel like they're being criminalized, and then two, then on the other side, people are saying it's a safety issue. What's your take on that conversation, brother?
So we'll start with the first part. The National Teachers Association. Those teachers are in their union. I mean, those security officers are in their union. So that's funny that they're talking about removing them. They're the ones who put them there. So there's that.
Wow.
And then the second part of it is a duplicitous relationship. In some schools, the police are not checked, and they could be seen as to run amok. But here's where it gets really complicated. The police don't go down the halls looking for children who are out of uniform, who are fighting. They're called in by the educators who are not able to control the situation. The cops don't call us. We call the cops. And so when we call the cops, they often act like cops. So if we in the school are not controlling what's happening, then we bear some level of responsibility for that. On the other side of it, though, I mean, literally outside my building, I found myself a couple weeks ago breaking up I don't know if you call it a fight, a melee between some adults who came to attack some of my children. I mean, this is where we are. I'm chopping grown man from coming after a child. This is the situation. So damn right, I'm calling the cops. I want every single person locked up who touched one of my children. I want them all locked up from the front to the back. I don't want to hear no stories about Black people getting done over criminalization. I don't want anybody putting their hands on my Black and Latin children. I don't care who they are. And the only person who I can depend on at some point when I'm out in the community, when my faculty is putting themselves between a child who's being attacked and the attacker, I want that person who got no good sense, who doesn't want to have a conversation. I want them locked up, and you should too.
No, I agree. I agree, and part of me is trying to figure out, Doc, if you know, how do we have a balance, because we have seen, you know, footage, we have seen pictures of police when they coming in. My wife is an educator, for example. She broke up a fight like a couple of weeks ago in Baltimore. And one of the first things, she teaches third graders, Dr. Perry. And one of the things that another teacher had asked her, because she got a little hurt, do you want me to get the cops? Between two third grade boys.
And that's why I said, in the school, right? This is on us to create an environment where people feel safe. This is on us to create a place where we can have two children who are in third grade or seventh grade or 12th grade get into a skirmish, and we break it up and then pull them together. A little while ago, I had two girls here. Do you really want to mess with her? No. Do you really want to mess with her? No. Then y'all need to cut this foolishness out, right? That's on us, right? But then there's those people out there who don't want to be peaceful, who don't want to be respectful, who don't care about being Black as much as I do, as much as you do. They don't care about the implications on our community. That's not why they're here. They're here because somebody says something to their daughter and they come to fight. And you say to them, sis, like, is that really what we're doing now? Like, you trying to go to prison behind two seventh graders? Like, that's what you trying to do? On blood, I'll do it. And 911, come get them.
Wow. And so if we got a culture like that, because I know I have listened to you, I've been following your work. I've seen you on Brother Roland Martin's show, of course, but I'm wondering the culture, which is what this show is all about. How do we change that culture? Because if an adult feels like they can, you know what? I don't care if they're a 10-year-old. I'm gonna smack them. I'm gonna violate them. I mean, an adult. That's crazy. Because when I was going to school, Dr. Perry, and I'm sure this was the thing, adults weren't brought into a situation. At first, you didn't see adults just jumping into kids' fights. You didn't see that.
Bro, let me say something to you. And again, we're going to continue this conversation. I got to peel shortly, but let me just tell you this. And it's only because we're literally dealing with a mass shooting. I got to dip and get children out of the building. Make sure that my faculty and staff are out of the building.
Yes, sir.
Because some of them, I love them so much, and their behinds will stay up in here and put themselves in further danger. And
no, so we don't need that down.
I love them, but I need them to go home. So I got to go argue with grown people about. I got it. We got it from here. Y'all go home. So I want us to close this part here with this.
Yes, sir.
At the same time as we have people who are Black who are doing some of the most ignorant things that I've ever seen, we also have Black people, parents and colleagues and children who are looking at them and saying, dog, what are you doing? Will you stop? We have children telling their parents, stop. So I want us to look at the fact that we're really usually, as is always the case, we're talking about a very small group of ignorant people. Very small group. Very small group. Impacting a beautiful culture of Black people who just want something better for their lives, man. They just want to get home. They just want to get on this train and they want to get to the crib. They want to chill. They want to eat what they eat. They want to watch what they watch. They want to spend time making memories with their children. So as far as the culture goes, how do we get there? One thing we do have to is we have to call a spade, right? The people who are foolish, we have to say they're foolish. And there's no other way. Hey, they happen to be Black and foolish, but they are definitely foolish. But there's a whole culture of people, Black faculty, Latin faculty, white faculty, but within our culture, administrators and supporters and people. There's a brother right around the corner who saw something and he said, yo, you go to that school right? Nah, y'all ain't acting like that here. And he checked our kids. And I was like, thank you so much, man. So it's a much more complicated conversation. It's a much deeper conversation. And please forgive me. It has nothing. I'm so honored to be on your show today.
God, you ain't got to apologize, brother.
But it just has to do with the fact that I got.
No, I got you. Look, I'm gonna let you go. You go. Your time has been very well spent. Your safety of you, your staff, and your students is much more important than us having these larger discussions at this time. So
it's not me who's I'm gonna be fine, but I gotta get these people out of here.
I get you. Take care of the business. Keep everybody safe, Doc. We'll circle back. God willing, we'll be talking to you soon. Okay.
I look forward to it. All right, peace.
Thank you. Peace. Dr. Steve Perry checking in. Let me bring back culture crew member Lise Winnie here. Man, Lise, what a crazy situation.
Yeah, I heard about that earlier today. I think it was like 16 people got shot or something like that.
16 people. It's not life-threatening injuries, but just to have him on just for even a few minutes to talk to us about how we handle conflict and violence in our neighborhoods, especially within the school space. I think this is it's one of those conversations, and I don't know, Lise, if people really understand how serious this situation is. I mean, here's a school principal, and Dr. Steve Perry, the founder of Capital Prep there in New York and in Hartford as well. But here's a school principal that has to break up a fight between an adult and a child.
Yeah.
Like that's not right. I remember in here in Baltimore, it was one of the saddest cases that I've probably heard in dealing with schools. a teacher was having a problem with the student. The teacher was like a substitute, but he was a black male teacher. And the boy had to be about 9-10 years old at least. Did something that 9-10-year-olds do in his class, talking, doing that thing, all of that. The teacher got so enraged with this black boy student that he put his hands on him, started throwing him around, started beating on him. Now, this is a black male teacher putting his hands on a black boy inside of school, a school building. This little boy came on to the news, Lise. I couldn't even listen to the full story. I started crying because his mother was pleading with the school system to have something done about this teacher because the boy had suffered serious, broken arm or something. He looked like he was physically beat up, and he was talking and he was like, I just didn't know. And my heart broke. I never forget this. This was a few years ago, and I never forgot. And I was just sitting there, me and Nira, we were just watching the story, and I was thinking to myself, who can do this? You're a grown ass man using the power of your size, your authority to violate a little black boy. And this boy, like I say, about 9 or 10 years old. No boy, no girl, no child deserves to be thrown around, beat up on in the classroom in front of their friends by an adult.
Right. No, I agree.
And I remember, and I'm like Dr. Perry went on this. Call the cops. I don't want to hear nothing. I remember sitting there, Lisa, and I was thinking to myself, I don't want to, if that was my son, that's all I kept thinking. If that was my son, who's 8 now, I don't want to hear nothing about he a black man, don't put him, beat the hell out this dude. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was so livid, and I still stand on it. You want to beat up, I'm one of them guys. You want to beat up on some children, you want to beat up on a woman, bet. There is a special place for the living.
Right.
We ain't got to wait till you move on to the next life or whatever.
Right.
We going to handle this while you living.
Right. But I think this is a larger...
To bring the cops in, whoop his ass.
Right.
Beat the hell out of this dude. Right in front of everybody.
Yeah, I think that this is a bigger conversation, though, because it brings up, of course, teaching is a hard job, and there's a big gap in between people who want to become teachers now, because we ask teachers to be so many people. They have to be social workers. They have to be security guards. They have to be educated. We're asking them to do so much. So I would be curious to see what some of the administrative in the school system, how are they handling this? The Department of Education, how are you handling this? Where you prepare teachers to be able to be all of those things? How are we handling this as a nation? Because we are behind. When you look at where America is, where our learning curve is compared to some of the other nations, we are behind. So we don't need less people in teaching. We need more people in teaching. Of course, we need to vet people. Everybody don't deserve to be a teacher. Trust me. I tried it. It just wasn't for me. I'm just like, no, not today, Lord. But I think that we do need more people in education, and we do need to expand what that looks like. As far as the policing in schools, I think he's absolutely correct, because the teachers are the ones that get the police involved. Does it create an environment, or can it create an environment that it feels like a prison type of environment? I think it can, especially if you continuously, we need more officers or resource officers in schools. But I think it does bring about a wider conversation about what's going on in our communities, because our schools are direct reflections of what's going on in the community. No doubt. I think we do need to look at that as a whole.
No doubt. And you know, it's interesting. My dad used to be a resource officer. And he would tell me the stories about, you know, how they handle conflict. And I think that's one of the big issues, because like, just as much as we have these conversations around restorative justice, restorative circles, then you have on the other side, you have police that are present in the school. It used to be really, really bad in Baltimore, as you know. That police would be, you know, hanging out in front of the high schools, hanging out in front of the middle schools, posted up, right? You have police officers, you have resource officers, both in the same space, and it created a certain environment. Like, there's an element of safety, and I think this is the fine line that we are all confronted with, even on the street, in our neighborhoods and communities. There's a fine line between wanting to feel safe and secure and not feeling like you're a prisoner. There's a fine line between those two realities. Right. Yes, I want to feel safe and secure, but do I want to see a police officer every 25 feet every time I go and, you know what I'm saying, as a teenager? I didn't want to see that. I want to see a police officer somewhere around.
Right.
But not, you know, I see as soon as I walk in, I'm going through a metal detector.
Right.
I'm going to lunch, I see a police officer sitting on his lunch table, 2 or 3 of them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You go to class, you see, you know, you go to the bathroom, you see a police officer walking up and down the class. You're like, God dang.
It's a reminder that you're not safe. Like, I was like, I was safe until.
Like, okay, am I safe or am I a prince? I mean, am I a student or a president? Like,
right.
Like what? And here's the thing. You know it, and I know it. The dynamic is, for us as a people and us in our culture, is that as much as we hate the police, quote unquote, right? Oh man, I can't stand the police, and there is a subset of our community that don't like the police, right? We know that. But most Black people, I don't think, even if we've been violent, we still turn to the police, which I think is the funniest thing, kind of like the most ironic part about it. We still have hope that if we get in trouble, we, without a shadow of a doubt, man, call the police.
Yeah. I think no one likes the police, though. Like, I mean, if you're being real, I don't think anyone really likes the police. Like, I think the way the police treat
I get it,
Black folks, but when
we
the
in
police
2022,
behind,
right? Like, I haven't had a police experience to the point where I hated the police, but I understand that when you're dealing with the police, there is a you know, you feel very nervous and there's anxiety and all of that that's attached. So I'm saying us, if you've been pulled over by the police, you have to be able to process all of those feelings and then put them in a place where it doesn't taint how you view every police officer. I don't think I view every police officer from the lens of they about to bust my head.
No, I agree with you 100%. I have police officers in my family, so I understand that they are people too. But what I'm saying is that I think that no one, and a comedian said this, I don't remember the comedian's name, but no one is happy when the police pulls up behind you unless you called them. Like, no one's like, yes,
you're not happy even if you call them.
Right.
I'm saying.
So I don't think anyone is like, yes, we need more of them. I think there are some people that do believe that, but I think that we don't need more of them in our schools. The issue is we need to fix the problems in the schools to why we need the police there in the first place. That's the issue. But yeah, no one, when you get pulled over by the police, it's like, yes, he pulled me over today. Like, no one is.
No. When you get pulled over by the police, that's a whole different conversation, Lee. Right. We're gonna make sure we're gonna put that one on the back burner because that's a whole different conversation. But back to the schools very quickly, I think that, like you're saying, like and what Dr. Perry was saying, like we do need to know, like the police still represent authority that has, here's the thing, the police department still have the capacity for the most part on how to handle certain situations, right? There is still a checks and balance relationship with the police, especially when you're talking about in the school setting. They have to look into the situation. They have to make the best judgment to they have to assess all of those things that they have to do, right? And if they were to handle a situation, most of the time they're going to handle it according to the law, right? They're going to handle it according to the law. And the other part about it, the police do come in there. You just got to know that, hey, this is such a serious situation. You need serious response to a serious situation. If you have a fight that breaks out in the hallways of some school, whether it's like a high school, and you got 20, 30 people fighting, you can't expect no teacher to jump in that situation.
Right.
You calling police.
Right. It's unfair, I think, for us, because like even when you look at the guns in school, like the mass shootings in school, like the thing that came up is that teachers should have guns. Like we should teach the teachers to shoot the guns, which is, it is unfair for you to make the teachers now have to carry on this other role. But I think we need to find a balance there, because again, when you say police are better trained, I don't know if that's true, because when they come on the scene, they are like to mitigate risk is what they're there, to themselves, to property, to the bystanders. That's what they're looking for. They're not there to de-escalate. They don't know how to de-escalate a 8-year-old or a 10-year-old in a way where it's going to be beneficial for that child. So I think we do need to find something. I don't know if that's another role that needs to be created, which again, there's just not the resources there to keep creating these positions, but to find something that's in between the two. The teacher should not be their responsibility. At no point should a teacher be breaking up fights of a 17. They could be 6. Have you seen some of these kids? Like I
get it. I definitely get it. So I get it. I get it. That's why you have resource officers. That's why you have individuals who do that type of work that should be on hand, and not expect teachers like Nira 4'11" to jump in. Because I tell her, nah, like third graders is one thing. But once you get up to those middle school age years and them boys start shooting up them girls, man, please, you better call for some help.
Right.
When I used to work in the school system, real talk, real quick. I used to work in the school system, and I would, help with monitoring the students. And guess what? They ain't give me no guns. I ain't have no badge, no nothing. The only thing that I had was to break up fights or to stop conflict based upon my skill set.
Oh,
my skill set was to build relationships. Now, we were cool most of the time, but the moments that they had a fight, brother Farajii, they got to fight. I put myself in those positions where I jumped into this, because I'm like, all right, I don't have, I'm trying to be Superman, but but I personally have jumped into fights between grown students, right?
Wow.
And try to stop the situation. And the students will be like, why brother Farajii on the ground with these students? And I'm like, no, if you're going to get down and dirty, act a fool, I'm not going to allow you to do that. And at the end of it, we're going to find a way to resolve the situation, right? But I had to learn how to use my relationships and to build that trust, because unlike the police, I'm not trying to hold you off downtown, give you a record and all of that and damage your life for the rest of your life. I'm simply trying to stop a conflict. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, speaking of schools, I want to talk about pandemic learning and what you see your kindergartner, your elementary school student might be losing as a result of being 2 years in the pandemic. We're going to talk about the lost skill of life skills that have been lost, and how this has impacted your child, your niece, your nephew, your granddaughter. We'll have that conversation. So stay with us. That conversation is up next in the second hour of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second hour of today's show here on the Black Star Network. I want to have a conversation about what's happening with our children as it relates to pandemic learning. Now, just to let you know, we're still keeping our eyes on the situation that's happened in New York City, where a number of folks have been shot as a result of a gunman who has gone into the subway station there in Sunset Park, New York City, and early this morning, and basically shot a number of people on the subway train there at the 36th Street train station, metro station there in New York City. And the details are still emerging, folks, but as of right now, the gunman is still on the loose. There have been many casualties as a result of this situation. The subway station has been shut down. And, you know, folks are still trying to figure out why this has happened, who's responsible for this is happening, who's responsible for this. So we're keeping our eyes open on this situation in New York City. The other thing that we're taking our look on, and I'm sure my big brother Roland Martin is going to be addressing this conversation, which is with the lieutenant governor of the state of New York, the lieutenant governor there who has been just indicted on bribery charges. And so as a result of that, we will have to see how that is going to impact the governor's administration. As you know, a former governor, Andrew Cuomo, was taken out of, was unseated from power as a result of his disgrace. And now with this situation, what's happening with the lieutenant governor, who is a black man and who was working under Governor Hochul, the first woman governor for the state of New York. So it's going to be interesting to see, what's going to happen as a result of that situation. Bribery charges that stemmed from his time when he was in the state Senate. And so we will keep our eyes on that situation. But I know that you can certainly check in at the 6 o'clock hour, or, when I'm sure Brother Roland Martin is going to be talking about this issue and bring you up to date on it. But it is a sad day in the state of New York, to say the least, around those two scenarios. I want to have a conversation about what's happening with our children. We had Dr. Steve Perry on, and I'm so grateful that we even had him on for about 12 to 15 minutes, just because of the shooting there in New York City. He had a limited time to speak with us, but we had a conversation with him about safety, school safety. And it was a good conversation, and we'll certainly do our best to bring Dr. Perry back. He said he wants to come back to have a much more bigger discussion about school and the state of Black education. So we'll do our part to make sure we have him back on the show. But as part of that, there is a number of challenges that are facing school-age children, and particularly kindergarten and elementary age students right now as a result of the pandemic. And there have been many teachers that are finding that children, small children, between the ages 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, who, because of online learning, because of the breakdown due to the COVID-19 virus on education, they have lost the skill of life skills, folks. Life skills. And I wanted to talk about this with our culture crew member, Lise Winnie, because I think it's interesting that just as much as we talk about how students need to be reading and writing, school-age children are not doing something that basically they should know how to do at a certain age, right? From small things like opening a bottle with a cap on it, to learning how to tie their shoes. And this has been a result of pandemic learning. This is what they call it, folks. For the past 2 years, we've seen children going back to school, and they're going back to school feeling or being uneducated. My wife has shared with me that when certain students came into the classroom, she teaches 3rd grade. When they came into the classroom, handwriting was terrible, because they did not take the time, excuse me, to learn about how to write letters clearly. And so, I wanted to have a discussion with this, and I would love to get your comments on this, folks. So if you are in our YouTube chat, Facebook chat, we would love to hear what you have to say about this, about just the life skills that our smaller children, nieces and nephews, grandchildren may have lost as a result of this 2-year gap with dealing with the pandemic. I want to bring back culture crew member Lise Winnie, who is the host of Millennials Anonymous podcast on this. Lise, when we talk about this set of skills, and I thought this was interesting that children have gone back to school not knowing how to tie their shoes, not knowing how to cut along a dotted line. I'm talking about small children, obviously, not adults. They don't know how to cut along a dotted line. They don't know how to, the life skills, right? That we oftentimes take for granted. I have a 2-year-old daughter, and I just sit there and watch her. Like, she's at that age where she might ask for some, "Daddy, can I have some juice?" And I'm like, "Sure." And I might give her a little bottle of, little juice and something. And I'm like, "Open it." No, Daddy. I'll open it myself, Dad. And she's at that age where she's like, "No, I can do things by myself, right? Like, I don't need your help. You know what I'm saying? I'll call you when I need you," type of thing, right? And I'm like, wow, okay, not a problem. And then it's like, the fine motor skills, like how important that is for fine motor skills, handling a pair of scissors, how to do that. One of the things that it was found in this latest report is that students didn't know how to do something as simple as squeezing a glue bottle to squeeze out the certain appropriate amount of glue to make a dot. I'm like, all of this was lost because of pandemic learning? Yeah, and then when I talked to Mira about it, she was like, "Yeah, dear, you got to remember, like, that was something that's drilled into a child's brain when they're in school. They do it every day. It's like conditioning. But if you haven't had that exposure, if you're on the tablet, like my son and daughter, they could do the tablet thing. Boom, 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 boom. No, Dad, let you go ahead. Boom, boom, boom. They can do that. But then they get into, like, once they get off the tablet, look like they got 2 left hands on their feet, You know what I mean? Like, they're like, "Daddy, I don't know what I'm doing." Right. And it's like, so I thought this was interesting. I don't think your children are small like that age anymore, but What's your take on that we're seeing a situation where our children, the very smaller children in our families, may be missing out on certain life and fine motor skills?
I mean, I said this, as a parent, I have a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 6-year-old. So my kids are all at different ages and, on the spectrum of life, 2 in elementary, 1 in middle school. But I've always said the teachers were my favorite people. But I believe that even more as a parent, if you didn't cry for your kid's teacher, you're not doing life right, because you realize how much more the teachers do and how important school is. It's more than just learning how to read and write. Like, school teaches you how to really function in the world, and you get those direct communications with your peers. One of the things I was talking to, I went to an event, I volunteered for the 2 local stations here, public radio stations. And I was talking to one of the volunteers who just so happened to be a high school teacher. And I asked her about this. I said, is there a gap that you've seen? And she said that the biggest gap is that with my 9th graders, because they usually get a lot of the silly stuff out in middle school, but they completely miss those years. So they're coming into high school as like a 7th grader. So you see this in all spectrums of life about what's happening. And I've noticed with my children, the communication is not there. But I don't know if this is just a change in general, because now that we are mostly on screens, I think there's been a bit of a lag between the way that people communicate with each other. So I have definitely seen that with my children just from being home, because as parents, we don't realize how important certain things are.
I mean, and I think that's very true. I think that's very true, where you like the pandemic has put this kind of and I think we got to be conscious about this, but whereas before, if your home was always like moving and hustling and bustling because there were so many things to do, and then of course at the earlier part of when COVID hit, that it kind of everything slowed down. And then after a while, like as parents, I know that, you get to a place you're like, I can't entertain my children for 24 hours a day. You know what I mean? For 5 7, because that pandemic thing would be like 5 days a week. And then you got the weekend. You like, by the time the weekend around, you like, man, just watch some TV. I don't care. You get to that place. But then, you got to be very intentional about making sure that during this period, even now, like some schools might be a hybrid model where they go to school on certain days and they come home and they're home on certain days. Like, just the basic life skills has to be there. And it didn't hit me, least until like recently, and I realized, I was like, man, this thing really takes a lot out you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, heaven forbid, like if your child or somebody in your child's classroom, I don't know how other schools work, but in my son's school, if a child has COVID, then that child is, of course they have to quarantine for, I think, for 5 days now. But then, sometimes the whole class would have to quarantine.
Oh yeah,
and
no,
so
that's
that
what
would disrupt your flow of the day. So then you got your child back at home for 5 days or something like that, and then you gotta like adjust and accommodate for your child being back home. And I mean, it just throws a lot of things off. You know what I mean? Like, you're so used to the schedule of, okay, I'm mentally ready for my child at 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, versus your child wake up at 7 and they're like, what's happening today? And you waking up and you're like, I have the slightest idea.
And it makes you reevaluate you as a parent, because when you sitting there throwing like, okay, this is fraction. I think I did this, but it looked different. Like, you get your parents now when they was like, this new math. Like, no, it's the same math. You don't remember it no more. But
hey,
you're
look,
absolutely
let me just
right.
tell you, look, I'm grateful that my wife is an educator, because you know, I remember having a conversation with my dad just like a few weeks ago. He was like, son, I want to teach, you know, I want to talk to my grandson about time and stuff and math. And I'm like, okay, how you want to teach him? And he was like, what you mean? I said, well, Pop, they are learning differently than the way we learn. And he was like, okay, so I can't teach them math? I said, you can't teach them math if it's going to throw off how they learning in school.
That Common Core? Oh my
God. What I'm saying? Like if they're learning a certain process on how to get to an answer, you just thinking, okay, since he's home, or I just want to throw something in there, that can mess him up. So I was like, don't teach him that. I was like, don't teach him.
When don't you sit home to see that, and that's why I said I love teachers. They're my favorite people. The fact that Common Core math, I'm just like, no, just do like this and this. And then my daughter's like, no, you can't do it that way. You have to do this. I was like, no, there's no way this makes any sense. But you know who really got hit when I think a lot of people aren't talking about? Children that have special needs. So those children got hit hard because they didn't have the resources. A lot of the schools were still missing things like, you know, speech pathologists and, you know, other types of different specialties that were there, and they didn't have that direct one-on-one. As a parent of a child that has an IEP, it was very, very difficult because they didn't get those services hardly at all. And if they did, it was virtual, and it's kind of hard to do that with a very, very young child. So my youngest child does have, you know, some learning difficulties. And so it's like, it's very difficult when you are trying to teach a child that already learns different or has like a speech issue, because my daughter has a speech problem. It already becomes problematic. And I think that's something that we're not talking about. What happens to those kids? Things that a teacher would have noticed that doesn't get noticed for 2 grades now. So now you have a child that was in the 3rd grade, now they're in the 5th grade, and you didn't notice that this child has this special need. So I'm seeing all of this. I don't know what this looks like down the road for Alpha. That's the new group. I don't know. I really don't. It worries me of what will happen years from now.
And let me tell you, at least it worries me too, because you don't want to get involved, right? Like you said, you don't want this new math. Look, check this out. One of our watchers, CA, pull in and said, this stuff is almost like algebra, you know? Hey, CA, I was the same. Look, I'm telling you, my second, third grade, man, you like, man, I know how to get here, but I don't want to like mess you up. Because my son is very vocal about the process. No, Dad, that's not the way that we were taught. And I'm like, look, man, you still get to the same answer. No, son. No, Dad. No. Right. Hey, he gets so frustrated with me. At least he gets so frustrated. He starts taking the paper. No, Dad. No. I'm gonna go talk to Mom. I'm going. You know what? I'll figure it out on my own. Thanks, Dad. Appreciate you. Close the door.
Right?
Like, yes. I'm just okay. All right. Cool. But here's the thing. See, we're talking about the academic stuff. I'm talking about when your child don't know the life skill stuff, the fine motor skills, how to use their fingers and their hands, dealing with arts and crafts. Like one of the things that we do here in my household is that we love arts and crafts. So we are constantly encouraging our children to do, near as an artist. So we pull out, we got all this art supplies and materials and have them to constantly get involved. And I think that now we got to be very intentional about how we educate our children, especially in the spaces. Look, it's hard being a parent, especially hard being a parent during a pandemic that probably 95% of us never experienced in our lives, right? At this level. So you got to be creative. You have to be creative of making sure that your 2-year-olds, your pre-kindergartners, your kindergartners, your elementary school age students, children, that they know how to do certain things. And at the same time, socializing, providing an opportunity for them to socialize with their friends and other children as a result of that, because I didn't know that this was such an issue until learning about this situation, and then finding out that teachers are saying when these children got back to school, Lise, they were totally unprepared.
Right.
Like tying your shoe. What age did you teach your daughters to tie their shoes?
Probably like 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
When they could tie it on their own really good. But I think another part that when you talk about things that are missing, they might even been like 4 years old, but it's another thing that's missing is the mental health piece. So there's a surge or a tick of children that end up in therapy. The amount of children that come to therapists for depression and anxiety is surged. So that's another portion. We're seeing with the pandemic, more children are more anxious. We wanted to keep them safe, but with what we weren't paying attention to is how much anxiety we put on children. So now they are living in, some children have never been in school at all. Like my child, this is the first time she's ever going to school, and you're going to school with all of this panic and worry. So it's like, oh, school is not safe. I don't know if I want to be in the building. So that's something that happened. And then of course now with having masks, the communication is off. You can't really gauge people's emotions and faces and behavior and spacing. And it's amazing what you're seeing, especially with the mental health portion and how this actually will play out with people and their relationship building later on, and how it is impacting the way they view themselves. Because you had kids, you sat them in front of a screen for 2 years, and now everybody's self-conscious. I don't like the way that I look. And it's amazing what has happened. And it's scary to see.
It's very scary. Let me very scary. Yeah. Keenan, let's throw this quote up here from the executive director of the American Association of School Administrators. This is what Mr. Dominic had said about pandemic skills lacking basic life skills. Dan said there's a huge gap that goes beyond the academics. It has to do with social and emotional components and just how to behave in school. That is something young kids have not learned. This is from the executive director of the American Association of School Administrators.
Yeah.
That children have not learned social and emotional components. And I think, at least we're in a place that I think for years to come, we're going to see studies and research done around children who have experienced the 2 years of pandemic learning. And they're going to probably start looking at and seeing how their brains have literally developed as a result of that lack of, social interaction, as a result of their relationship to technology, all of that, right? For the next couple of years, I think we're going to see a number of findings and reports, and all of that stuff is going to be coming out. But there's that lack of social and emotional components,
right,
of being around other children.
What this will look like in the employment world. How does this play out? Because we're seeing a lot of that. I don't know if you've noticed it, but customer service is different. I'm not going to say it's worse. I'm just going to say it's different. Yeah. So it's amazing. It will be interesting to see how this plays out once they have to get a job, because now they're already starting off behind. So how do we catch them up? And as parents, we can't just put this on the school system and on the teachers to catch your children up. If your child can't tie their shoes, that's on us. Like, that's not a skill that the teacher needs to be doing. That's on the parent.
No doubt. CW checked in on our YouTube page and said that their grandson was 4 and his teacher had him tie all his classmates' shoes. But CW said, I put a stop to all of that. Damn. Damn. Aww. All the shoes. 4 years old. Aww. Everybody line up.
Oh,
about to tie your shoes. Like, that's wild. I would stop that as well. Janae said individualized education plans, IEPs, are for students that need help because they are not up to par. The bullying situation is supposed to be throughout the school administration. If there's a breach, then if not, then sue. Dealing with IEPs, there are number, and some people tend to believe that IEPs, is just for students that are are in a you know, they might be lacking, or they may not be up to par in their grade level in reading and in other places. But please, everybody probably need IEP at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all need
a speech.
The adults probably need IEP. We all need individualized education plans at this point.
Yes. So there's different reasons for it, but my daughter has it's speech. It's for speech, which is also something that actually, not just from the pandemic, but just in general, because of the tablets. That's not hers, is genetic because it came from her dad, but it's something that we're seeing. Children, the communication skills that they have is lacking. We're seeing that children are talking later on. They're not communicating the same way that they used to. And that's why you have to really verbalize with your child and take the tablets. I know it's hard. It's like, ooh, just watch Caillou or Bluey or whatever it is that you watch today, because it sometimes it can be a lot, but we do need to make sure we're communicating with our children and make sure they're communicating with other people.
And McCole checked in and said, look, the issues with kids lacking basic life skill has been an issue before the pandemic. Yeah, it has been, but it has now been exacerbated as a result of the pandemic, right? And here's the thing, folks, you know it, and I know it, that Black children have the capacity, and this is what you got to keep in mind. Black children have the capacity to learn all of these life skills, to be up to par, or to read at a certain grade level, or to their social and emotional and mental components are at a place that they're there. But that is really dependent upon us as the adults. Look, if folks are honest with themselves, all of the growth and development came because some adult in our lives took it upon themselves to make sure that we were prepared socially, emotionally, mentally, academically. They knew that. My mother, my grandmother, my dad. I mean, it was a whole village thing. Even if you say, well, I only got one parent and there's only me in the household and I got these children, like, you create the learning experience for your children. You do that. The children don't do that. You do that as the adult. You know what I'm saying? As the adult. And so again, there's no book on parenting. This is like uncharted territory for us. So I think that we have to give ourselves some mercy and grace too, Lise, not to beat ourselves up so much that we think we're the worst parent because our children had to be on a tablet for 6 months or for the past year and a half. Like, you can't beat yourself up. Like, that was the way the schools thought at that time, thought the best way to deal with it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. I remember, just before we close out, like, I remember there was a big conversation about whether they should go online or whether they just send packets home. And I don't know if you remember that, Lise, but their teachers were like, send us packets home for how long? Like, we gotta identify the worksheets. We're gonna have to print them out. If you're dealing with 20 children in the class, you're gonna have to prepare those packets. That's just one class. Like, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of printing. Yes. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of lesson planning. And then at the same time, you want them to do it on their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want your child to grow, if you want your child to be proficient in any area, like your life skills or your academic skills, that still rests on us as the adults. That's all I'm going to say, Lise. What's your final word about that?
I agree 100%. It don't beat yourself up, like you were saying, but it is on us. And even before the pandemic, one of the things I think is lacking is some of the basic financial life skills. Because when I tell you, I went into a store and I gave a girl, she was supposed to give me change back. This is a teenager. She has to be like at least 14 years old. And the music that should have played, I could see it in her head. It was like, we can't have that. So we have to be able to figure out, how do we fix this gap with our children? And the parents have to step up as well. Of course, don't beat yourself up. No one is perfect, but we do need to step up as parents.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, folks, we're going to take another pause. When we come back, let's talk about wasting work days, Have you found that at your job you have been suffering through an inordinate amount of work meetings, which has impeded on you actually doing the task? We'll talk about that dynamic. Plus, we got trends posting doing the most. So stay with us. We got a lot to get to in the final 30 of the culture here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punching!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
Yes.
Folks, have you been working at a job where you feel like more time has been spent on meeting about doing tasks than actually doing them? Well, guess what? You are not alone. There have been a number of places of employment where employees are complaining that they spend more times in meetings talking about what they plan to do and less time actually doing what they say they're doing. And so, according to Asana Inc., a work management platform for teams, they recently released their annual report called Anatomy of Work Index. I want to share with you, take a look at what they have to say about the Anatomy of Work Index report that came out for this. According to the Anatomy of Work Index report, in-depth analysis of how people spend time at work, it shows that although hybrid and remote work is ideal for many workers, the majority of the survey participants, 58%, reported they are spending most of their day coordinating rather than doing the tasks they've been hired to do. Nearly 60%. And Lise, bringing back culture crew member Lise Winnie, host of Millennials Anonymous podcast. Lise, let me just tell you, I've worked at a number of places, right? And if this ain't telling the truth, oh my God. Oh my God. And, you know, of course, we had this pandemic. virtual meetings up the wazoo.
Yes. Meetings on.
And let me tell you, Lisa, I don't know how this is impacting you. Like I used to sit in those meetings, right? Notes. All right, I'll put my little action items like, all right, my tasks are. Next thing you know, 2 days later, another meeting with another set of tasks. You're like, oh, all right, cool. 2 days later, you're like, God.
Yeah. Right.
Like, jeez.
We have meetings on the meetings about the meetings. Like it's just
unnecessary meetings. Now, I think this is interesting because, look, folks, I truly believe that we have to change the culture of work in this country. You talked about this earlier today, Lise, that when you vote, when people go to the polls, you got to vote for your interests. I really hope and wish that somebody puts it on the national, as a part of a national ballot, changing the work week. That's for one thing. Cutting this bad boy down to 4 days a week, right? Let's just shave off a day, folks. The weekend starts on Friday. And then from Friday to Sunday, that's the weekend. Your last work day is Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm an advocate for the 4-day work week.
I don't know. We ain't changed the work week since Eisenhower. So
I get it. Look. This is my wish list for 2024.
I'll let you have that. Keep
right. But here's the other part. The meetings, the culture of meetings, and especially in white collar profession, in white collar jobs, right? Now you might just say polo collar because that's where everybody's rocking the polos, and it's very business casual. But the culture of the work meeting is terrible. And I'm talking about, and I've worked most of the time, I've worked in the nonprofit business sector, in the nonprofit space. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, the nonprofit space, they have more meetings. Oh my God. You'd be like,
about the meetings.
I'd be sitting on the Zoom call like planning stuff for the another show, and
yeah, buddy, the nonprofits, they love meetings, and
the nonprofit sector loves meetings.
Yes, you got to do the meetings.
It's like the meeting. I see it all the time, and I always wanted to myself like, yo, like I always want to raise my hand, like, excuse me. Are we going to actually have time to do this? Because you're going to want to report in 2 days at the next meeting.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this, Lise? Like this culture of the unnecessary work meetings?
I think it's a way of control. I mean, when you take employees, because most people don't know how to manage. That's very hard for most people to do. Most people do not know how to manage people. There's very few people who are good leaders. And so one of the ways to keep you on a tight leash is to monitor what you're doing. And the only way they can do that is to keep talking to you and then wonder why your productivity is not as high as it could be. Because I'm talking to you. If I wasn't talking to you, I'd be working. So that's what it is to me. It's a way for employers to control their employees and monitor what they're doing, even though if you have a work computer, they might even have a tracking device in the computer.
Look, let me tell you something. Americans, and I know we've talked about this before on the show, but I'm very serious. I don't know how to get it started. I don't know what we got to do to put it on. Like, seriously, I'm serious. Like, we need to change the culture of work in this country.
We do. Millennials did that, though. Like,
what you mean, millennials did what?
So the boomer, we're trying to change it. The boomers believe that you work till you die. That's what you do. You give your all to the employer. Millennials are starting to change that, where they're looking at, that's why we move jobs more frequently. I think we're trying to find a better way. Now, whether or not we'll get it on the ballot, I don't know. But in America, we do look at work different than other countries. We are very, very focused on, like, even though America is interesting, that we're type A when it comes to work and how work is done. But I think it also comes
Wait,
back
now, hold
to
on, Lisa. Now, you're saying type A in terms of we want to work hard?
Yes.
I disagree.
Yes. I think we are. But when you think about success, when we hear people talk about success all the time, what do they tell you? You have to work hard. So if you're not working hard, we believe that you won't be successful. So that's where you build up this culture of work.
Right. I agree with that point. But I think there's a revolution, a quiet revolution that is happening in this country where we know that if you wanted to be, I mean, just pick your favorite successful person, right? If you wanted to be, they didn't work hard as much as they worked smart.
I agree with you.
We know that. They were strategic work. Now, not to take away from the fact that they put hours in, I think that there's a proper balance. Like, yes, on some projects, if you know that if you've gone on any type of work-related project, some projects require more time than others, right? We know that. We understand that. But I'm saying the constant work, like to consume people's lives, right? To have, for example, all of these meetings to consume your brain. Look, so it said it in the survey that in knowledge workers, this is what they call knowledge workers, folks. These are people that use their brain. This is like you and I will probably fall into this category, Lisa, being knowledge workers, right? You know, teachers and all of that, people that have to think through their job. And I'm not throwing no shade on manual labor. I'm not throwing shade on that, but that's a different level of intensity. Knowledge workers in Australia, France, Germany, Japan, Singapore, the United Kingdom, and the United States, and found that a majority want to actually be able to work during the day and cut down on meetings. There is something satisfying about being able to go to work and actually being able to do your work before the end of the day, right? That's a satisfying feeling like, yes. I've been working at jobs, and I don't know about nobody else. Y'all ever go to a job and you feel like that bad boy is endless? It's like you in hell, right? Like you are in the. I'm serious. It's just nonstop. Like there's no break. You finish one thing, and then next thing you know, you got a meeting that's something else, and you like at one job, and I had it was like that, and I would make a joke at a meeting like, damn. When are we're gonna take a break? And I know being a supervisor, people always be, supervisors like, oh no, I know we're doing a lot. So we're gonna do a break. And the break would be like, so after work, we can all hang out together, which takes away from my personal time. You want me to hang out with you and see you for an extra 2 hours.
Right. I didn't want to see y'all here. Like I don't
want to see you here. You want me to see you for an extra 2 hours, right? On a Friday night.
You're like, that's gonna be a no for me.
Bruh.
But I think you're right. I think with the meetings, I think there's a level of control for employers to. Or maybe even now that they know that people don't like the meetings, to get people back in the office. Because one of the things that is happening is that people don't want to come back in the office. So make it uncomfortable. Maybe you might decide, you know what? Being in the office is better than being at home. So I think that maybe it's some of that going on with the employers with the meetings, because otherwise it doesn't really make a ton of sense to having all of these meetings, except for if they want to monitor you, watch you, and get you back in the office. That's it. That's it.
Look, let me tell you. And look, I make a joke about this, and I know. Look, I'm gonna step on somebody's toes by not saying this. Look, let me tell you something, folks. I was leave again. I worked in the nonprofit sector, so I get it. The causes were massive, right? It'd be like, yes, we're trying to deal with like mass incarceration. We want to make sure. I mean, it would be these big noble causes. And this, you ever been in a situation where somebody, you like, damn, man, you really have no life.
Right. Yeah, right. No,
like, this is all you do.
Yeah, buddy.
Sorry, buddy. I got a wife and children. I got stuff to do.
Right.
Like,
I can't.
By the time, and you know, like I didn't have, like, you know, if you salary worker, you don't punch a clock. So a joker always think that you got time to give. Nah, bro. It is 4. This is me. Like, nah, it's 5 o'clock.
Right.
It'd be like salary worker. That don't mean nothing to me, bro. I've grown. Maybe it's me, Lise, but I've learned that my time is more valuable than money.
Yeah, that comes with wisdom.
That's a, like when you're young, you be like money. When you get older, you like time. You get money. You can't get back time. My time is more valuable than money, man. My time is more valuable than money. So I get it. You could be like, oh man, like you gotta give me a lot of money for me to give up my time, because I can get money. I can't get time.
Right. You can always make more money.
You burning up my time, cutting down on my productivity. Then you bring me into the at least you bring me into the evaluation and say, hey, so we didn't your productivity, my productivity what? Because the last time I checked,
you was there.
That's why over 5 days that were 3 hours a day. Let's do the math for this. You know?
Don't tell me about my productivity.
I have an hour worth of lunch. That gives me the 4 out. Yeah. And then that chat. You remember that chat that you had on Tuesday and Thursday?
Yeah.
So that brings me down to 40. I had 20.
Don't forget the emails. You got the emails.
To actually work on a 40-hour project.
Right. You got to get the emails. Remember, because they're going to send you a 2-page dissertation email that you got to read. Please. No, I'm serious. We got to change that. And if you are a supervisor watching this, like, really think about it. Nobody wants to live at their job. The people got things to do. Don't assume that everybody got the same level of passion that you got for the job. I'm passionate about a lot of things, but my time is everything. I'm more passionate about my time. I don't want to have to. And then if you have, like, I work in nonprofit time. So, you know, a lot of stuff happened behind, you know, at the end of the day, after 5, after 6 o'clock, man. Now, so that means that I'm not coming in at 8, 9 o'clock. I'm coming in at 11, 12. Because if I got to be in this mofo until 8 o'clock, right.
I'm taking mine off.
Right. You got to subtract. Yes.
I'm taking mine at the front end, bro. Don't expect me to be up here at 9 and then come back. No, that's not happening.
Yeah, employers, we got to have a conversation. We need a conversation.
No, man, look. Cut down the work meetings. If you cut down on work meetings, watch productivity grow. And I know people got to have meetings, but you have meetings for people that need it.
Plan
your job, meeting. You don't need it. Cut down the work meetings and watch productivity grow.
Right. And plan it, though. Figure out what is the purpose of them. I hate a meeting that don't have a purpose. Like, you just wanted to see me. You just wanted to talk to me. I get it. I know I'm one of them people. But plan it out so that you know exactly what it is that the meeting is supposed to accomplish. You ever left a meeting and was like, why did we do this? That should never happen. Plan that out. Don't waste our time.
Plan it out, man. Plan it out. And like I'm telling you, I don't live for the job. I don't live for the job. This is not my whole existence. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not defined by this job. Even if it's my career. I've done this work for years. So this is my career. But at the end of the day, like, I know when to, bruh, it's that time. It's that time for me to go.
Right.
You coming back tonight? For what? Why are we coming back tonight?
Right.
No, I specifically always got jobs where, and I know one of two of my jobs that required me the extra time, but I'm like, nah, bro, I'm not doing it. I don't like to work like that. I don't like to wake up thinking about work, go to sleep thinking about work. That's not healthy. That I don't like that. Please, I'm not like that. We need to change the culture of work in this country.
We do.
In other countries, and I know that they deal with different level of economics, but in other countries, I read that in the country of Helsinki, was Finland. In Finland, they are the happiest people. They don't work quite as hard. They don't work quite that long. But see, the reason is that we love the capitalism so much in this country that we just think that people want to be. We always going after that rat race. Oh, chase that dollar, chase that dollar. No, I'm not chasing no dollar. I'm gonna work hard for the time I need to work hard for. That dollar coming to me, baby. I'm not chasing no dollar. Then I'm gonna end up being sick. My children gonna look at me like, Dad, he chased that dollar, but he dead.
Yeah.
He chased that dollar, but he was never around. That's what millennials are thinking. Like, nah, I want to be around. I don't want to have health problems and worry chasing a dollar. I just think we just need to change the culture of work in this country. We need to do it. Stop all these damn meetings, man. Stop meeting. If you can't tell me Elise, final point. If you can't tell me within 30 minutes what the situation is, hey, can you block this out for an hour every week?
No. We gotta learn how to freeze.
When we come back, Trent's posted doing them up. Stay with us. It's the culture of Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks. Well, welcome back to the show. All right, so Elise, we got a couple of moments left, and I want to make sure that we end out on time. So a couple of things very quickly. Chris Rock said that he's not going to talk about the slap until he gets paid. What is he talking about? I'm not sure.
It was a comedy. So during a comedy routine, he was making a joke. And so people just took it and ran with it.
He just took it and ran. He said that his hearing was messed up as a result of the slap.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
He said he got his hearing back.
Oh, wow.
I was like, whoa.
Okay.
That's not good.
That hard.
Huh?
No. I didn't know he hit him that hard. Okay.
That's what I didn't know either. I didn't know. He said his hearing is back, but he said he will not talk about this until he gets paid. It's going to be interesting to see what he has to say, but he's still going to remain silent about what happened at the 94th Oscars. So that's pretty interesting. A lot of people are talking about that. Also, did you hear about Idris Elba? Speaking of comedians.
No, I saw that, but I didn't.
Look at this, y'all. Idris Elba revealed he sold weed to Dave Chappelle early on in his career. I hate to look at the picture of that they chose Idris Elba. Like he's happy about it. Like I sold Dave Chappelle weed. And he loved it.
Right.
I have the finest cannabis.
Like, really, Idris? Now they gonna be talking about The Wire.
For 2 years, for a couple of years, like he was trying to get on back home in the United Kingdom. Then he came to America. He was trying to get on. And he said for a couple of years, he would just do about anything. I was like, oh, so Idris Elba, when he was on The Wire, he really was a drug dealer.
Right. That's what I was saying. Like, now they're going to be talking about The Wire forever. But Idris, I mean, we all got to pass, I guess. We got to pass.
I don't know why. I don't know why he would say that, though. Now everybody looking at Dave Chappelle like, yo, was it good, though? Did he... Did he hook you up?
Legalize cannabis too. Legalize it. There we go.
And and of course, if this legalizing marijuana bill passes, they're going to change the name where you don't say marijuana. It's going to be used. Cannabis will be the term. Cannabis. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, we don't sell weed or marijuana. Right. We sell cannabis. Yeah.
Right.
I thought that was interesting. Like, okay. He actually said, though, real talk, y'all. The man said he did a whole lot of different events. Like, he was a dancer. He said,
a DJ, right?
Huh?
He was a DJ at one point, right?
He's still a DJ.
Okay.
Yeah. He said, yeah, he was doing a lot of things. He said, not proud of. He said, I did a lot of things. He was selling weed for a short period of time. Notable clients were like Dave Chappelle. He said he was also sell weed while working as a doorman at a comedy club.
Okay.
He's in the hey folks, he's in the new family film Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I don't think anybody would get upset with Idris Elba. I really don't. I don't think that anybody cares. Yeah. He said Dave Chappelle remembered him, which is funny. Can you imagine that? Like, hey, my weed guy is hell. Like your weed guy becomes a bigger actor, just as big as of an entertainer as you are. Like, damn. Hey, Idris, you got I need what you got today?
Yeah.
I wonder if he like hey, Lee, do you think he like stopped the supply? Do you think okay, we're not worrying about that. We're not gonna ask questions. We're not gonna ask anything.
We're gonna leave that alone.
We're gonna leave that alone. We're not gonna ask that question. All right, final thing that people are talking about, Rihanna. She's on the cover of May's cover of Vogue. Look at this, y'all.
Gorgeous.
Good morning, gorgeous, I guess. Oh, baby. Yeah. I'm going to say it in my Jay-Z voice. Oh, baby.
Oh, you're good. You did pretty good with that.
Thank you.
Rihanna, is stunning.
She is stunning right now on with this baby talk. So her and ASAP Rocky, she's getting ready for it. That belly is, man, she might be dropping twins with that belly.
I don't know how it just seemed like she wasn't pregnant, and then all of a sudden she was
just
really
pregnant. Like, she wasn't pregnant, then she's pregnant. Right. But her belly. When is she supposed to have the baby? I don't even know.
I have no idea, but it has to be sometime soon, right?
Yeah, definitely soon. Definitely soon.
But most people can't do that. Huh? Most people can't pull that off. The stuff that Rihanna, just y'all leave it alone. Leave it alone.
I mean, look. I always think women are beautiful when they're pregnant. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? That there is a natural beauty and glow that comes with a woman being pregnant. So I mean, she has the resources to be able to have a beautiful time while she's pregnant. Right. But yeah, it's a natural glow. So I'm proud. I'm very happy for her. I'm very happy for her, and she's really in love with
very political answer. I like his political answer, but no, I'm just saying, like, she has the money to be able to walk around with a half shirt in 2-degree weather. Most pregnant women ain't doing that.
No.
So shout out to Rihanna. She looks absolutely stunning and beautiful.
Yeah,
I did not like.
Look at that. Look at that.
No, I carry fluid everywhere. No.
I mean, everybody different though, Lise. Every woman is different. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But she is carrying that baby. I mean, she is carrying that baby. And it's so, I know that some women gain weight in the face and everything. I don't see that, but maybe I can't,
She was always gorgeous. I think it's just because it's her genetics. Rihanna different. That's what I'm just saying. She's different. Yeah, she's different.
She real different. So that's what people are talking about, Lise, for Trends Posting doing the most. Lise, I appreciate you for holding down with me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. We're going to bring Iman back next week. She said she wasn't feeling well. So, God willing, she'll get some rest. And next week, we'll see her again. But I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Lise, for holding it down. And thank you so much for always being so good for the culture, Lise Winnie. Make sure y'all check her out on Millennials Anonymous Podcast. You can hear it on all podcast platforms, streaming platforms. Lise, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. I thank you for being a part of the conversation. Hopefully you enjoyed today's show. We want to thank Dr. Steve Perry and just giving us a few minutes today. But that's the type of conversation you will see here on the culture. Make sure you show your support and love here at Black Star Network, blackstarnetwork.com. We can get all of the where you can show how much you love Black-owned media. And we love to have your support. So go to Black Star Network, download the app on your phone, tablet, all for free, folks. But make sure you let your friends and family know that Black-owned media is here and we need your support. So go to Black Star Network to show your support and also sign up for our fan club through Roland Martin's fan club. We would love to make sure that you are part of that. Just a lot of things that we are doing, and continue to show your support by sharing all of our shows and some of the latest downloads and videos. So we appreciate that. All right. Stay tuned. Up next is at the 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time hour is Roland Martin Unfiltered. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Thank y'all, family. Peace.